So Morgan Stanley CEO James Gorman said that his bank is not seeing much client demand for crypto. So I want to take a little walk down memory lane. Okay. So we'll remember in April, the bank announced that they would offer wealth management clients access to 2 external crypto funds. In June, they bought more than 28,000 shares of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust as a response to demand from clients. And in between those two stories, it was announced that Morgan Stanley's new Bitcoin product raised $29.4 million from 322 investors in just 14 days. Now, Gorman says it's not a fad. He believes it's here to stay, but there's just not a lot of demand. So, Naomi, you had a big rant, so I'm not gonna pass it to you, Zach.
Oh yeah,
I'll take it. Yeah, man.
Zach, take it away.
You got James Gorman versus Jamie Dimon talking Bitcoin on the street, and hey, James Gorman, he's like, hey, you know what? It is what it is. It's here. It's not going away. It's not breaking the bank for us right now. It's not changing the economics of where we are as an institution. But hey, we're going to offer it. It's here. It's not going anywhere until we see bigger demand. Expect us to kind of stay the course with whatever limited offerings and exposure we offer to the space. But it's good to hear. I mean, this comes a week after Jamie Dimon famously kind of reiterated his famous antipathy to the world's first cryptocurrency, and to hear another big banker guy like this saying, "Hey, I mean, it's not a fad. It's not breaking the bank. Again, it's not our bread and butter, but it ain't going anywhere." It's interesting to see these diverging opinions from some Wall Street titans. But I'll toss it down to you, Will. Curious for your thoughts.
This is just like the last headline we're talking about. This is a good headline to start off the day with. Why? Because we don't want bankers to be part of the system necessarily. We want there to be like some sort of disintermediation where you don't have to use a bank. Like if you want to use a bank, you can use a bank and it's there. But it shouldn't be a huge part of what banks do going forward. Why? Because you can custody your own funds by yourself for free with the security of the entire network at your back. You don't necessarily need to use a bank anymore. You don't need to be paying them funds. You don't need to be paying them fees. You don't need to be paying them to custody all your funds. Like that's something of the past. That's something that Bitcoin enables us to not have to use those bankers anymore. And so it's not surprising to me to see that banking giants aren't making a ton of money off this, because why would they? There's not a ton for them to do. Custodying Bitcoin, you can do that yourself at your house for free. You give it to a banker, you don't need to pay them that much. There's tons of people who can do it for you for very cheap, and all the risk is on them. So it's not necessarily a great thing to do. If you're looking at trading, there's tons of different trading platforms you can use. Just plug it into your Chrome browser and boom, you have all the trading applications at your fingertips. So it's not surprising to me at all to see that they're not making a ton of money on this. I would say like they're probably looking for the higher institutional clients who are trying to make big purchases of crypto. Again, like there's players out there that do that already. River Financial is one that comes to mind. They opened up about a year or two ago, and they make a lot of big purchases on behalf of institutions of Bitcoin. Other older bankers, they don't have those infrastructure pieces in place to be able to do it. That's why we've seen things like NYDIG really take off, because they're kind of putting the structural pieces between traditional banks and these neo banks that we're seeing coming online. So again, just this headline makes sense to me. Totally makes sense to me. Jen, I'll throw it to you though.
Will, with the optimistic takes today. I love the optimism. Thank you. Well, okay. So I think though, when those stories that I was just talking about, when we took that walk down memory lane, they really kind of happened when Bitcoin was hitting its all-time high and the price was kind of soaring. We saw the line on the up and up. And I think that could point to why there was more client interest or more client demand. I think we've seen the price kind of level out. Things have calmed down. And so that makes sense what you're saying, Will. Naomi, I think I saw your hand up before I make my next point, though.
I promise I won't rant. I will say I agree 100% with what Will said. There's just no real niche for companies like Morgan Stanley, because institutional investors are going to Coinbase. Coinbase has really got such a strong foothold. And if you want to invest in crypto, you're going to go to the experts, not a bank who previously has called this a fraud and doesn't really know what they're doing. You're going to go to the people who, are trusted in the industry, have been around for a really long time, and Coinbase has really filled that need. Then if you're dealing with just like everyday everyday customers, right? They're not going to go to something like Morgan Stanley either. They're going to Robinhood, they're going to PayPal, they're going to Cash App. Obviously, these places aren't places where you can actually have crypto in any real sense because you can't move it off the app yet. That functionality is apparently coming for all of those platforms. For Robinhood and PayPal. And they'll be great, but young people just aren't going to be using a bank for this stuff. It's just really not their niche. So Morgan Stanley, I mean, it makes sense to me that they're not really getting into this. And maybe Jamie Dimon should have been more careful with his comments. And otherwise they might have more clientele if he wasn't just around calling it a fraud for a bunch of years. But I'll throw it to you, Jen.
Yeah, I've asked this question on the show before, and I want to ask it again. What is the role for a traditional bank of the future? I mean, we look at traditional institutions and we say that they need to innovate and be forward thinking, and it seems like maybe in this case they are trying to do that, but there's no place for them. And so what's their role? Should banks be afraid? Just like, I mean, we're talking about central banks being afraid. Should private banks also be in that camp?
Probably. I mean, as Will said, we need banks because in order to send money across the world, we've needed these trusted entities to facilitate that. Crypto takes away that need because it's decentralized and it moves that trust into the cryptographic space. And so we no longer need to trust third parties to move this money. Especially if the banks are going to be charging fees for all of this stuff, it makes a lot more sense to be using cryptocurrency. But I think I saw Zach, your hand going up.
Yeah, I will say that for some of these larger institutional players, I mean, there are custodial requirements that are mandated by law that they have to partake in, right? So as right as Will is, in that you can custody your own crypto quite easily, some banks aren't able to do that because of fiduciary requirements. So I don't think the banks are going anywhere, but Coinbase, right, has rushed in and become the key institutional broker for many, 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 many institutional investors. And if the banks are going to be worried, they should be worried about some of those folks.